Come, live with us, be British values. Don't fucking hit a police officer, mate. Especially a female one, especially one that's armed in the airport to protect my family when they're going on holiday and they're vulnerable. Stop fucking around. That's what we're saying. Stop fucking around. Guys, I think we've got to speak the truth, and in this video I'm going to tell you why I think that police officer at Manchester Airport was right to kick that young man in the head and to stomp on the back of his head also. I'm also going to tell you in this video why I'm very worried about the state of the United Kingdom today and how I see it only ever getting worse. We have to do something. What that is, I'm not too sure. That's what the comment section is for. So whack something down there and literally tell me, Tim, you're wrong and this is what I think. That's what the comments are for. That's what makes YouTube great. It's what YouTube used to be before the big corporations got on it. It was a dude in his car telling you how he honestly felt and then you trying to correct him or tell me how you honestly felt. But look, if we look at the airport incident in isolation, it looks really bad. It looks like there's a young man on the ground, face down, and then a big police officer kicks him in the head and stamps on the back of the head. That is factually correct. That is what happened. But here's the thing. I want to take some context around it, all right? Because if you remember, you probably don't, because I kind of forget myself a little bit, but on Tuesday when this event happened at about 8:30 in the evening. Now, just prior to this event, we'd had an army officer stabbed down in a barracks in Kent, remember, by a guy that got off a motorcycle with 2 knives and stabbed him 70 times. That happened at 5:30 on that day. Now, if we go back to around about midday, we had the guilty verdict for Ajem Chowdhury, who was that Islamist preacher, the guy that was responsible for the terrorist cell in the United Kingdom that supported ISIS and also carried out the 2 attacks, one on London Bridge that killed 8 people, I believe, and one on Westminster Bridge that killed 5 people. That was around about midday. So those police officers in the airport, they're aware of all this, of course. And once that army attack happens, they're thinking, my goodness, there's a response, there's an Islamic response to this preacher being found guilty, basically, in I think it was in a court in London, and he's obviously going to get a very, very long sentence. So they thought maybe this stabbing is a response to that, and they've probably been briefed high state of alert. When then an obvious Pakistani Muslim man goes and beats up 4 officers, hospitalising them, and breaks a woman's nose. These are armed response officers. And in my time, I'm 50 this year, I've never ever known anyone in the UK, I've never known anyone to attack an armed response officer. I've never known anyone to attack an armed officer. Yes, you never attacked police officers. I knew how rare that was. My father was a police officer. No one ever attacked police officers. Very, very rare. It's very, very common now. But back in the day, 70s and 80s when I grew up, it was really rare. Never happened. My dad used to come back and say, yeah, one of the guys down at Fratton or Cosham or whatever got attacked. Crazy wild, because it never happened. Now it happens all the time. All the time. Police officers get attacked all the time. A lot of that, of course, is that we allow anyone to join the police force. It used to have a height limit. And of course, we allow small women to join as well. And small women, of course, they're not much of a threat to us as a big man. And one thing that men respect, of course, is physical presence, size, all that kind of stuff. And we're going to come on to that when we talk about dominance and everything else in a second. So we've got this state then where we've already got people in the airport. We've got these police officers there who are at a heightened state because they've seen this Chowdhury preacher, this leader of a terrorist organisation, followed by many, many people around the world, and especially in this country, and he's just been found guilty. So they're expecting some kind of response. And then a few hours later, they get a response. In Kent, they've seen this motorcyclist get off and stab this army officer in uniform. It's a very Lee Rigby type thing. And of course, my goodness, so everyone's on a high. And then at 8:30 in the evening at Manchester Airport, armed response are calling for backup, saying we're being attacked, literally. And I heard that someone went for a gun. I don't know how true that is, but that's what I'd heard about it. So, of course, now you've got the armed response who are already in a heightened state of alert, as they should be, now thinking this could be a terrorist attack. So it's not looking that bad anymore. And I want you now, I'm going to go one step further here. And I want you to place your family on holiday in that airport. And I want you to place your family in the departure lounge with your trolleys and your kids on their little luggage thing. And you're all walking towards there. And the armed police are now dealing with this incident. Now, the armed police don't know that this incident is not a terrorist attack. They have to treat it as such. why would they think any different? They don't know, especially people that aren't involved in the moment. They're on the radio. What's that? Arm response? They've been attacked. They've been attacked. If they right, run away, tooled up. Let's get amongst it. And all the quick readiness guys start piling in on this. Now, the other thing we don't realise as well is that once you have this attack going on, the rest of the airport, all the arm response are going to this one thing. The rest of the airport is empty of police. It's empty of arm response. So, of course, what this could be is a distraction. It could be something distracting the police intentionally, so the main effort of, let's say, 8 knife men, whatever, or a terrorist with a bomb, or we could have a gun, whatever it might be, could be looking at the main terminal building where you're walking through with your children. I hope you understand that it's not as simple now as the papers make out. It's not as easy as police officer kicks young man in head for no reason, didn't do nothing. It's not one of those, all right? You can't focus like this if you're an armed response officer. You can't not look around you if you're a police officer. Everyone is a threat. If you're a prison officer, everyone's a threat. And that's going to manifest itself in your home life as well. It does eat you up over many, many years. It ate my father up. He was dead before 65, my father was, through PTSD and some other things like this. I mean, don't get me wrong. It's a difficult existence, my father. He was armed response, traffic, and that's why I talk about it. I talk about police a lot. I'm a big supporter of British policing, although it does seem very much two-tier at the moment. And I think there's a reason for that, and we'll talk about that as well. So these police now are sidelined. And the thing about it is, they know they're sidelined. So the officer, I think, that we see taking control of the situation is surrounded by other officers, one of which has got a broken nose. The other one's probably been smashed up as well. They've already tased this guy on the ground, and they don't know whether there's other people that are either going to be conducting the main attack, a secondary attack, or they're going to be coming in to help out these attackers who are on the ground now. They don't know that. They've got to suppress this as quickly as possible. As quickly as possible, using whatever means necessary. This is what people don't understand. They can use lethal force if that threat is one that is viable. So the guy's got a taser pointing at the young man's back. He's been tased. He's on the floor. But also, a weapon or a taser in the hand, when you do go and reach someone, you're vulnerable, you're off balance, you've got weighted vests on, you've got guns on you, you're bringing your own firearm closer to someone who wants to get your firearm. So you've got to keep a tactical bound, you've got to keep a distance, you've got to have some distance between you. So if he does grab you, you can shoot him, you can tase him again, you can whatever. So how do you subdue that person when you know you've got someone else sitting there with his hands like this? Fair enough, but maybe he's waiting to pounce. We know that guy's been violent as well. These are not high IQ people. These are not postgraduate degree PhD students we're talking about. These are feral, young Pakistani Muslims who, let's be honest, let's not even talk about first cousin marriages or anything like that, but we can if you want to, because the statistics don't lie. They're not necessarily the most clever people in the world. They're very volatile, exceptionally unpredictable. They've just proven themselves to be. They're so stupid. Like, we don't meet these people before. These two men, they're so stupid. They've actually punched an armed officer. They've broken the nose of a female armed officer. You're going to get a response. And that's what I mean. I think this was intentional. I think this was a complete setup. It was intentional. I think they were trying to arrest the guy. He knew what he was doing. There's solicitors involved now. They're going to try and cash him. And it's all to make us less safe in the UK. It's to make your family more vulnerable when you go through the airport to some kind of attack. Because the police will dial it back now. The police won't approach people. They don't want to be called racist, even though that Islam isn't a race, but that doesn't seem to register with these idiots that do this. So it's all about breaking this down. That's what immigration is about, isn't it? I'm talking freely now. Hit the comments. Immigration is about the dilution of the ethnic population of the UK. It just is what it is. We know that. There's more people, this is a fact, by the way, 600,000. There's more people who've come into the UK through immigration in the last 6 months that came into the UK in the 1,000 years prior to 1940. Let's have a think about that. So, and it's happening all over the place. It's happening in Paris. It's happening in Germany. It's happening in Italy. It's planned. It's planned. It's not a mistake. It's planned. The dilution of ethnicity within these nations so that we can create a unified Europe that's going to then stand against America, whatever it might be. We're going to have a workforce then, can't we? Bring down nationalism, bring down borders. It makes people easier to be used and manipulated. We know what it is. So let's put that to one side. Let's go back to the police officer again then. So what would you do now if you were that police officer? Your team has been smashed up. You've got people there around you who are incapacitated, so you're really the single officer that's got a firearm, really, that's got any bearing with you, knows what to do. You've got the guy on the ground that's done it. You've got another guy over there you know is volatile. You know's hit people before, maybe even gone for the gun, sat on a bench. You don't know who else is coming in. You don't know whether it's a secondary. It might be a tertiary attack. Why? Because your comms is hanging out because you've had a scuffle. They're all off comms. They're all off comms. The last thing they heard was officer attacked, officer. They're all off comms. They've all put out a call, been officer attack. So no one's got any comms. So comms are down. Other officers are coming. They're taking officers away from their primary duty, their primary areas that they should be patrolling. So these areas are now vacant for what? A marauding knifeman, a bomber. It could be anything, couldn't it? And your family's in that main hall. There's no police around. You just seen the police run past you. What's that about? What's going on here then? And then the stabbing starts. No one's coming to help you. And all because we worry that a police officer has used, too much force on someone that's demonstrated that they were actively, we know they've broken the nose of a female police officer. Why are we not talking about this? When the Muslim community up in Rochdale went around the police station, why is that community not calling out the rape of our young white women in the UK? Am I speaking out of line here, or did I miss the point where there was a massive protest of the Muslim community against those who... I must have missed that bit there. Because if you want to live in the country, and it's my country, not yours, don't get me wrong, my father, my father's father, my father's father's father, and it goes back generations that you won't even find paperwork for. It doesn't even exist in the annals of history. This is my country here, and I have been here for years. I'm not going to give that shit up. And there's plenty of people like me not going to give that shit up. So all we're saying is, come, live with us. Be British values. Don't fucking hit a police officer, mate. Especially a female one. Especially one that's armed in the airport to protect my family when they're going on holiday and they're vulnerable. Stop fucking around. That's what we're saying. Stop fucking around. Come into the UK. Be British citizens. We're all going to do these things together. All go on holiday together. It's going to be absolutely fine. That's all we're saying. Just don't fuck around. If you fuck around, you will find out. And that's why I'm saying that police officer was justified in kicking the shit out of that young guy on the ground. Doesn't matter who it is. You're making my family more vulnerable. You're making me less safe. Just behave yourself. That's all it is. Behave yourself. Now, tell me in the comments if you think I'm wrong.